A landmark lawsuit will be held in Denver, Colorado, in the USA on September 16, carrying immense significance. Though unrelated to Ambazonia or La République du Cameroon's conflict, this case will set a critical precedent for holding perpetrators of genocide and torture accountable. For La République du Cameroon, the message is clear. They can be persecuted upon stepping foot in the United States. This trial could pave the way for justice to catch up with those responsible for heinous crimes, no matter where they were carried out, or no matter where the perpetrators hide. The upcoming case has to do with one Captain Michael Correa, a former member of a notorious Gambian death squad. Captain Correa faces charges of torture and conspiracy to commit torture, allegations that have long haunted the victims of Yahya Jammeh's brutal regime in the Gambia. This trial, while only the third of its kind in the United States, is a testament to the expanding reach of universal jurisdiction, laws that empower nations to prosecute certain heinous crimes under international law, regardless of where they occurred or where the crimes were carried out. This trial isn't just about one man's accountability. It speaks to a broader global push for justice for the world's most egregious violations of human rights, including war crimes, genocide, and torture. As international courts and national jurisdictions increasingly corroborate, the hope for many victims is that there are no longer any sanctuaries for those who commit these unspeakable crimes. From 1994 to 2016, 2016, Yahya Jammeh ruled the Gambia with iron fist, presiding over a regime of terror that brutalized opponents and silenced critics. Journalists, human rights defenders, student leaders, political opposition figures, LGBT people, and anyone perceived as a threat to his authority were subjected to a range of human rights abuses, including torture, extrajudicial killings, enforced disappearances, and sexual violence. These horrific acts were largely carried out by state security forces and shadow paramilitary units, such as the infamous Junglers, a group directly linked to Jammeh Yahya and tasked with eliminating his enemies. Yahya Jammeh's fall from power came in 2017, following his defeat in the 2016 presidential election. He then fled to Equatorial Guinea, leaving behind a country grappling with the scars of his brutal rule. The violence and terror that reigned during his 22-year rule have left deep wounds in Gambian society, many of which remain unhealed to this day. But even in exile, the legacy of Yahya Jammeh's crimes persists. Captain Michael Correa, a captain in the Gambian army, is alleged to have been a key player in the Junglers, Jammeh's feared paramilitary unit. Established in 1996, the Junglers operated outside of the Gambia's former law enforcement apparatus, answering directly to Jammeh himself. Over the years, this group was implicated in numerous crimes, including acts that have left an indelible stain on the country's history. According to both Human Rights Watch and Gambia's Truth, Reconciliation and Reparations Commission, the junglers, Yaya's paramilitary outfit, were involved in torture, killings, enforced disappearances, and other atrocities. After entering the United States in 2016, Captain Correa was arrested in 2019 for overstaying his visa. At the time, he applied for asylum, but his past soon caught up with him. International and Gambian human rights groups, alongside U.S. lawmakers, called for his prosecution on torture charges. In 2020, a U.S. grand jury indicted him on 6 counts of torture under the Federal Torture Act and 1 count of conspiracy to commit torture. His trial, beginning this week, will bring him face to face with the allegations that have haunted him for years. The Gambia's Truth Reconciliation Commission, established in 2018, was instrumental in exposing the full extent of the atrocities committed during Yahya Jammeh's rule. In its final report, issued in 2021, the Commission concluded that crimes committed by Yahya Jammeh and his associates amounted to crimes against humanity and war crimes. The report called for the prosecution of Jammeh, members of the junglers, and other key officials involved in the regime's violent crimes. While Gambia has made some progress towards justice since then, the country's efforts have been slow and incomplete. To date, only 2 prosecutions related to Yahya Jammeh era have moved forward. The Gambian government has expressed its intention to establish a special prosecutor's office and a special judicial framework for prosecuting those responsible for the most serious human rights violations in the Gambia. However, much remains to be done, and international cooperation, like the trial of Captain Correa in the USA, plays a critical role in ensuring accountability. Captain Correa's trial is expected to last about 2 weeks. During this time, the court will hear testimonies and review evidence related to the alleged acts of torture he committed as part of the junglers. The current Gambian government has cooperated in the U.S. case, providing support to U.S. authorities. Meanwhile, several organizations, including the Center for Justice and Accountability, Trial International, and the Gambian civil society groups, are working to ensure that victims of the Jammeh Yahya's regime receive legal and psychological support. This trial is a significant milestone in the broader movement for justice for the victims of Yahya Jammeh's brutal regime, I guess like that of Paul Biya. It also demonstrates the growing use of universal jurisdiction by courts around the globe in recent years. Countries like Germany and Switzerland have prosecuted individuals for crimes committed during Yahya's rule, with some high-ranking officials being convicted of torture and other serious crimes. The use of universal jurisdiction is becoming an increasingly powerful tool in the global fight against impunity for atrocity crimes. As of 2024, this year I mean to say, there were 200 233 cases of universal jurisdiction globally, with 36 new investigations opened in 2023 alone. Civil society organizations play a critical role in these efforts, providing essential support to victims and advocating for accountability. Captain Correa's trial is part of a broader trend of increasing accountability for atrocity crimes. The United States, traditionally hesitant to embrace universal jurisdiction, may be shifting its stance at this moment. The 2023 amendments to the War Crimes Act, which extend jurisdiction over foreign nationals for crimes committed abroad, suggests that the United States is becoming more open to using its courts to prosecute international crimes. This shift has been driven in part by the war in Ukraine, which has renewed global interest in holding war criminals accountable. The upcoming trial of Captain Correa in the United States should send an unmistakable warning to Cameroon's dictators or leaders, who for the past 8 years have waged a brutal war of attrition against the people of the southern Cameroons, Ambazonia. If Ambazonians in the diaspora are strategic, they will take this opportunity to learn from the Captain Correa case and begin preparing to hold accomplices of genocide, torture, and forced disappearances accountable. I'm talking about figures such as Paul Atanganji, Emi Bankoy, Paul Tasson, Ngala Gerard, and all the rest that we all can name, who have played a part in the atrocities in Ambazonia. This trial in the U.S. is proof that impunity can no longer shield them when they commit crimes anywhere. The time has come for these enablers of state violence to face justice, not just in court of public opinion, but in legal courts abroad, where their crimes will not go unpunished. Ambazonians must rise to this moment, knowing that the long